Hello and welcome to this yet another episode of Credible Talks. Like always, we bring in some special people, special guests on this show and talk about various subjects. Today, I have with me Anup Sharma. He is an award winning strategic communications consultant with more than 2 decades of experience in public relations, public policy, communications, political campaign management, digital and social media outreach. I mean, you name it, and Anup has done it in communications. Anup is also the director of Center for Empowerment and Development Studies, CEDS. He is also the senior director with the Public Relations Consultants Association of India, PRCAI. In past, Anup has worked with MyGov India, the citizen engagement platform for Government of India. So, a vast experience in communications, and we are very glad to have Anup today talking to us about his experience. Anup, thank you so much for agreeing to be part of this show. How have you been? Please tell us something about yourself.
Shuja, first of all, I should thank you for inviting me here. It's always a pleasure interacting with you. And of course, this is a new medium which we are interacting with. First, I will start with a caveat saying that I have done a lot in the communication space. So I think we all, as communicators, we have never done enough. We keep learning every day. I think it's before we were born, we started communicating in our mother's womb by kicking her when we needed something to communicate that time to now. And the mediums have changed, the platforms have changed. But yeah, we keep learning and keep doing. So that's, yeah, I've been doing good. And thanks to everything that at least we all are safe here. And that's the most important thing, that the last 1.5, 2 years has been tough for all of us. But yeah, we have been safe and doing fine. Thank you.
Wonderful. I think that is the silver line here, that all of us are safe. We've, in a sense, ridden this, storm, so to speak. Let's hope it doesn't come again. But for now, we are all okay. That's great. Anup, we work in the space of influencers. So I would like to, get a little bit of insight from you on this subject. It'll be glad to, understand your perspective on this issue. So from a point of view of a communications consultant, a communications professional, how significant do you feel influencer marketing is in this digital era?
So, Shuja, nice question. But one thing we need to understand is that when we say influencers, so as communicators, we all have been working very closely with people who have had the power of engaging with the stakeholders. And in that, we normally used to interact with people or use the services of people who have certain influence on the stakeholders. So if you see a teacher has an influencer, acts like an influencer for some messaging with the students. Similarly, if we go for the rural communication, typically it used to be said the religious leaders as well as the panchayats, they had the influence on the local population. Similarly, we have the lawmakers, the lawyers, the professionals, etc., acting like the influencers. But from a communication perspective, when we started having what we called the models or the brand ambassadors. Later on, it changed. Earlier, it was the models. Some noted celebrity trying to endorse your brand or the service and trying to get a message across. And that became the real first influencer. And whether it was for the marketing or a behavior change communication, it was always there. So we had examples of Amitabh Bachchan working for different brands as well as for a cause like polio, or even now his voice being used earlier in the days for the corona. So the word influencer is something which we need to be slightly guarded with. That earlier it was used with somebody who can make an influence on the society or the stakeholder group. But broadly, what we see today with this times is that it is more to do with how is the message or the information being created. So it's more of the creators which are there. And to answer now specifically, yes, the role has increased much. primarily because the mediums have changed today. With a mobile in hand, like everybody can become a newsmaker, story creator, and everybody has the power of influencing somebody. So the
Right.
challenges are very high, and also the opportunities are very high.
Right. Uh, I mean, you put it rightly. There is definitely, maybe definitions have changed a little bit, but we know the core philosophy and the core concepts here. And that takes me to the next question that I want to ask you. In terms of building brands, in terms of building, promoting brands or creating sales, where do you think this domain of marketing stand at this point of time? How important is it for the brands in these fairs?
So, take you to the good old days when internet was new, or maybe prior to that, if you see a brand like one of the biggest brands of the motorcycle, Harley Davidson, they had a whole uh, community club, which was more of an engagement club, the Hog, the Harley Owners Guild. So
Yes.
that was more of a, if you say, those were the good old days when there was no internet in that manner. Of course, there would have been, but not in the same manner what we see the social media way. So that was more of a community engagement there. And then early days of when internet had started, if you remember, the gangs of girls, it was again started by one of the prominent brands, more of a community building from the women and the young girls section. So now there we didn't call it like an influencer marketing, but it was more of an engagement. And as rightly you said, the names would have seen, but the games are the same. From a marketing perspective, we still stick to the Kotler's 4P, product, price, place, promotion. The communication part primarily falls under the promotion side, and there we keep
Hmm.
evolving. And today, it is actually becoming very very high. So now if you have to see the sale of a product, if you have to do the key things, that is it aware, first the product or the service, is it aware, then only one will have the action of buying it. So the role of today, the influencers or the message creators, if I prefer to call them more of a creators, that are you actually creating something which relates the brand to the stakeholder, which is the consumer in this case. So right from the awareness stage to actually making them desire to buy, that's something where all the almost all the brands have started looking at, primarily because they are realizing that for two factors. One, the media has actually fragmented, and today from a broadcast, it has become a very microcast. Like today everybody's device is actually one medium where you are interacting one to one. So if I have to interact one to one, I should become more real. So if I have to sell a product, I need to see that how does it relate more to my consumer and the influencers. So the brands are using, and the one size doesn't fit all is working. So brands are realizing that as they are doing, uh, they're dividing the stakeholders again into various categories, and then today you have the creators stroke influencers of each category, and they are helping in propagating your voice or your message.
Right. But do why I'm asking you this question is because while we've been talking to a lot of people who call themselves influencers or are influencers in various ways, they do feel generally that despite the kind of reach that they eventually put out, there still is lack of recognition, vis-a-vis the traditional methods of outreach from brands. Is that true? And if that's true, why do you think that happens?
So again, if we look at from a perspective that who are these creators to influencers, uh, earlier it was slightly easier. You typically, if you say who were the models which were used, the two or three categories in India, if you see the Bollywood or the cricket sports personalities, broadly these were the two. We had aberrations. We had, if for a topical reason, if anybody was making news, he or she could become a brand ambassador. Brand ambassador was a term which was started using later. It was earlier models. So that person was in one way universal. You go from top to bottom. I mean, like across. If we take India, of course, it's a quite a vast country, but right from the north to south, there were some uniform models or characters, a Rajnikant in certain level, or a Amitabh Bachchan, or a Akshay Kumar, or a Mumuti. They had some kind of resemblance which was across there.
mm,
Now, with the same was happened with the sports personality, a Sachin Tendulkar or a Kapil Dev of earlier times, or even if we say internationally, if we say a Pele or a Maradona, they had a personality which was known and seen by all. Today, with the advent of the social media or the digital media,
mm,
a celebrity stroke an influencer is created every second day. And that by
right.
second day means that he or she is actually prominent, maybe in that particular zone. When I say zone, maybe in that geographical zone. So
Mm,
if today we have to talk about, like, that's why if you see, you have influencers also, the marketers and the influencer marketing agencies, they also categorize under, mega influencers, influencers, and then going up to micro to nano influencers. So now a
mm,
nano influencer may or may not have that kind of reach or a recognition with others, and that is maybe one of the reason why people feel that they are not seen in that same manner. But
mm,
uh, the this is one part of, in terms of the recognition. The second is that this industry as such is slightly new. I mean, we are still in a nascent stage, and it's evolving. It is the, in one way you can say that it's early days of blogging. Like, anybody with an internet connection can actually go and create a page through some of the free blogging sites, and everybody can know. But you could not be considered as a media space in that manner.
mm,
So similarly,
mm,
for these influencers or the creators, if I say, it's a vast. I mean, today, like I said, I mean, with everybody with a phone is an influencer, or can become an influencer. Now, for that person to become slightly known, being accepted by all the kind of brands, will be challenged. And then also the brands also realize whether he or she has that potential to, for their brand to be reached out to. So two
mm,
factors: one is in terms of the recognition of these people, which would be there, but the second is also this industry is slightly new and it's a nascent stage. So and let's be honest, today, like, you could be a celebrity in one region, but you may not know the person there, but across the world people will know. And then the whole thing is that how beautifully you are able to craft that message. So that's a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, Anup, also wanted to ask you about this question. Since you've been part of various forums which talk about practices in communications and public relations, there are definitely a lot of concerns with regards to credibility, authenticity. I mean, there's a mushroom growth of marketers, including influencer marketers. Does that worry you as well? The factor related to authenticity, credibility.
Beautiful question. And I'm happy that uh, you all have actually, going by the name of your organization, and this talk only is the comms credible. So communication has to be credible, and as they say, for a PR, any communication, I mean, it has to be that we help in creating a perception, but that perception doesn't mean that the information is wrong. We help in communicating something which is credible, and then we help take different routes of communicating. The tools could be different. So from that angle, yes, the challenge of influencer marketing is very, very high. But if you see, it is not just new now. Let's take a step back early. So when we saw, typically we see in communication, as we call the PESO, the PESO model: paid, earned, shared, owned. Now, paid media advertising, we well know that you want to communicate a message, you buy the ad space, outdoor, indoor, or do some events and then do it. Then, the earned was something where the PR part was there, that you earn the media through either a journalist or through word of mouth or through blogs, fam trips. There were various tools which were used. and then of course it was
Right.
shared and owned media. Now today is actually the time of integration. But last, I would say around 15 years back, 15 20 years back, we started seeing what we call, we ought to know of, paid media. So
Hmm.
while today the influencers may be all that, whether the trust factor with them, but I mean we have had this post-truth era, and we are living in a post-truth era. So the whole thing about truth era and post-truth era, so already that line was divided. Now maybe it is the post-truth 2.0, with where the influencers are being caught, and today they have to be come out very strongly, because I mean, any brand ambassador earlier, if they were caught, like, so they have been penalized, and people have been asked that, okay, I took that product or a service depending on your seeing your face and following your credibility. But today, if you retract or the brand has failed, then you are also responsible. That is, you means the model and the brand ambassador. Now it has coming to the influencers or the creators. So the latest, I mean, the ASCII rule also, they have started putting that all the promoted or the paid brand promotions have to be branded as paid. So that is one level of actually taking it to the level. But yes, this new trend of consumers holding the celebrity accountable for the performance of the brand also. I mean that if the brand is not doing good from that in terms of giving me value, they want to question, and that is there. And the whole thing about the blurring line between the paid and the earned media here, for a influencer, people don't know, I'm watching your reels or I am watching your status. I don't know whether you have been paid to hold that particular bottle of beverage or use that product. That is coming through. So this whole thing about, like, what we call uh, the truth, trust, transparency is very important. And for brands and organizations, this has become, I mean, also started helping that today these influencers are not just used to bring out the narratives, but they're also used for engagement and to bring out the, I mean, they act like the real, I mean, authentic voice, and help in controlling the narratives, as well as managing what we call the three T's: truth, trust, and transparency.
So you think with this freedom that we have gotten in terms of putting our narratives out, it's all the more important to uphold these three T's today, right?
Yeah, yeah, I mean it has to be. So if you see most of the uh, influencers who do the brand promotion, etc., now they follow the ASCII guidelines. Of course it's a still a bit slightly blurred and early stage, but they put out that this is a branded content, and there,
Hmm.
and to some extent the consumers also relate. But see, the problem is slightly different. It is about that how is the media consumed today.
Yeah.
Reels, or I mean the TikTok. Right now it is banned in India, but we still get videos which are branded as TikTok. So and we can't say there that it's just a TikTok or a Mojo or a Takatak, the Indian version, or a Share Chat, or on a Ropozo, etc. So because we are watching it, where we are watching it through the shared media, the PESO, the shared media, which is I am watching it either on my Facebook, or I am watching it on my WhatsApp or my Signal. So the message, or the meaning, the whole message or the communication is coming to me in a different platform, where that whole thing of paid is gone.
Hmm.
So
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
there lies the responsibility of the creator to
Hmm.
actually make that if I am using this product, because he or she doesn't know where, which platform that finally will go out into, and which we had earlier also. I mean, earlier today, if you called a brand ambassador for a press conference, he or she
Hmm.
used
Hmm.
to open up the bottle or the package and showcase it there, and that was shown in the news, business news or feature news, depending on there, and it was,
Hmm.
but we didn't see there it was written paid. I mean, we
Hmm.
all
Hmm.
know that it never happened that time. It's now being, people are realizing that, okay, uh, ads were separate, but when it is appearing in news, the person is actually
Yes.
that he or she came for the press conference, and they were seen literally using the product there. So it was actually advertising, but we never had that thing that it's a paid part of it. So
Hmm.
similarly
Hmm.
here, that's a challenge that today I have posted something on my let's take on a reels or Instagram. There I can put it as a branded product or a co-branded product. But when it is actually captured, there are tools we just copy it and then it goes on a WhatsApp. There, that thing will not go there. So it lies the responsibility of the influencers, stroke the creators, that some way they should propagate to the citizens, the consumers, that this is a part of a paid promotion.
Excellent. Anup, we know you as a communication specialist, a PR professional. We out here are also trying to add value to this domain of influencers. We're trying to, build some recognition around what our products. But I want to understand, also we're trying to do it through global eyes. The idea is basically to try and figure out how the people who are outside India or looking at Indian campaigns or Indian work that has been done. I want to ask you the same question. Where do you think that Indian work is today, if you compare it with what kind of work has been done across the globe?
So, see, particularly in the influencer marketing space, if you see, the funny and the good thing I would say is that uh, the internet doesn't have a geography. We just need a connection. Like today, we are communicating via this media. So that is there. So today, if a song from Sri Lanka or the K-pop from Korea, it has the same relevance because the
Hmm,
same song, a reels is being created just as a background news, a background
hmm,
music, and is there. So
hmm,
now the beauty of, I mean, when we say the integration is happening now, the integration is not just happening in terms of the two three ways, like when we say advertising, PR, digital, combining and doing the integration. The integration is
hmm,
actually also happening in terms of the geographical reach. Today the music could be from Sri Lanka, the influencer could be from Korea, and the product could be from India, which is being promoted, and it is being showcased to a community in the US. So that is there from a reach perspective, the beauty it has got. Now, in terms of the some of the Indian campaigns, if you see where we are, slightly nascent stage, and this is again because this influencer marketing thing is that the influencers are very target specific. I mean, you there are people who are generalistic and there are some people who are specialists, some niche. So
hmm,
earlier again, like
hmm,
if I take the influencers or the creators more, if I take in the same parlance as a journalist. So you had different
hmm,
journalists, different beats covering, like you used to cover certain beats. So every journalist has a particular beat, and then there are some who cover slightly larger featured media, etc. But they have a specialist. Similarly, for when we used to earlier get a celebrity to endorse our brand. So a sports
hmm,
personality would typically, I mean, it was not more fit for, more of an agile brand, a youthful brand, whether you have to show a lot of energy, etc. But then you also had I mean, let's take a Kapil Dev promoting Rapidex. I mean, good early days for English speaking. So that's where it was used. Similarly, now influencers, depending on the kind of the message or the channel which they have, the creation which they do, they are being used. So a lot of these podcasts, a lot of these web series today are being used. Some of the Indian big, if I say the YouTubers or some of the big Insta reel creators, their reels are being consumed across.
hmm,
From a brand perspective, we have seen various brands now actually bringing two, three campaigns together, stitching it in one, and then playing it across. I mean, if I just say, take from an example of like a soap brands, there again we used to see earlier days
hmm,
also, like some of these soap brands, they actually used to bring the international figures, but not from a models, but a real life people from different countries together, showcasing that these are the ways which we are doing. And I mean, if we see again on the prominent denim brands, they in their campaign they had influencers stroke models, or the people they featured were from various countries. Similarly,
right,
the campaigns which are being created currently, some of them are actually reaching out to different audience. And here Shuja, see, what happens is that today, I mean, the two, three big areas where the influencers are working very closely are in terms of the fintech, edtech space. And today, edtech, particularly with the COVID time, it is being consumed across. So, a child in US also is actually going to some of the edtech platforms of India, and they are learning that the tools are there. So the
Hmm.
campaigns which are run in here are being catered there, just slight customization. It is not the same as the tele shopping where we had the dubbing of a international person talking, yes product अच्छा है, मैंने ये product ऐसे use किया, and see the change. So today that is being created in a very different manners, and I would say that some of the influencers, stroke creators are actually bringing alive a lot of these campaigns are there. And like I say, we should not just see the creators in terms of just the Insta reels or the some of the videos which they are making.
Mhm.
The influencers actually go beyond just those. I mean, you have podcast, you have the videos, you have some people actually writing the blogs. All of them are, video of course is playing a big role, but not necessarily that there and there. People are looking at content or creators which are pan content.
Wonderful. Excellent, Anup, as was anyway expected. Very, very insightful conversation with you. Thank you so much again for agreeing to be part of this. We hope to have more of these valuable conversations with you in near future. Thanks a lot, Anup, for coming in.
Thank you, Suja, and really an pleasure to interact with you. And particularly these kind of talks, like when we say about credible talks or the comms credible, it is very, very important that we try and bring across the right form of messaging. And I wish you all the best for the awards which are coming. Those are certain platforms which again will help in bringing across certain campaigns, some of the influencers and the creators to the next level, and particularly with the kind of jury and all which you will have got, it will help in designing them. So all the best, and thank you for
Thanks a
having me
lot.
here.
Thank you so much, Anup.